I discovered that my purpose was larger than anything I could have ever conceived, thought about, dreamed of, wished for. It was one of those moments where you were just stepping into something that you had no form structure. There was no foundation. There was no class on doing what I do. Like, there's no one who taught me to do my purpose. It was divinely guided and delivered to me before I even arrived on the planet. And I'm just stepping through the motions of being in service to humanity. So it's interesting to describe my purpose would be to change people's lives. It's where people are stuck, locked, limited. They're looking for something else. They've done the self-help books. They've taken the classes, the seminars, the gratitude. They've been on retreats. They've listened to the 528 frequencies, everything else that this reality says is what you need to do in order to raise your frequency, to manifest, to create. And that's not always the truth. And so I'm able to go into their realities and I drop into the subconscious and I eliminate the unconsciousness that's in there. And as scientists have proven that the subconscious creates the reality, their whole reality changes. And it's instant, dramatic, radical, and permanent. And never in a million years, like, could I ever have thought like this kind of a thing was even possible? Like, I was a first grade school teacher. I was a lifeguard. I was a Walt Disney World dancer. I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm doing this like quantum stuff. So yeah, it's interesting.
Hi, my name is Psychic Caro. I'm founder of LightNets, and my passion and purpose is to remove the word impossible from the dictionary. I am here this week with Susan Shatzer. She is one of the people that I know that can heal someone that has been working to get healed, trying to get healed, can't find a solution to really tough physical and mental patterns that people get. And Susan can work with them, and in 15 minutes to a couple sessions, these people are feeling amazing. And they're in a totally new adventure in their life, a new chapter. You are going to get the opportunity to experience Susan this month live on October 26th on our YouTube at ourlightnet.org.
Yeah, so about that. So I stepped away for the longest time because I don't identify as a healer. You know, I kind of just, I'm able to kind of just see things, know things, hear things. That's just kind of like, everything talks to me. So every molecule is consciousness. So I have avoided doing this for an extremely long period of time for all the reasons and then some more that everyone else would have. It's the religion, it's where you were brought up, it's what are people going to think, it's being identified as crazy, and it's like, how can you know this stuff, how can you do this stuff, like it's not real, like it's a coincidence, you know, it's serendipitous, you know, it's not actually you, it's just, you know, happening on its own. So it was a moment when I was asked by Zenka at LightNet to come and if I would, you know, do a live stream with the members. And it was in that moment that people were radically, instantly, magically like shifting and changing, like right there on camera, right on the spot. And it was able to be filmed, recorded, shared, and then more people are coming back saying, I listened to that, you know, 2, 3, 4 years later, and they're still receiving the clearings that we had done for people and still receiving the benefits that they had received at the time. And that was one of the things where like, I can't walk away from this. Like, Zanka, you made it so official. It was like, okay, now, like, you're out there. Like, it landed on YouTube. It was live streamed or something. I have no idea, but it was like, you can't go back. Do you know what I mean? When you've changed people's lives as dramatically and radically, I mean, there was one girl who just got off drugs, you know, and she was like in a really dark place, and it was like she was not coming back from that. And we cleared it, and her frequency went from like rags to riches. So I called her my Cinderella. We called her Cindy for short, and she ended up getting pregnant, you know, right after her body was clear and clean. And like, that was the being that was ready to come in, but needed mom to be clear. And just, there's so many more stories like that. So you can't walk away from that. You can't go, oh yeah, that's what I used to do. Or, oh, I did that before. No, it's like, this is like so required right now for everyone, with everything that the world is happening and processing and going through and experiencing, that, you know, this is my gift to the world. You know, I'm in service. It's happening. I'm able to see a soul's record. So, and it's like a vinyl record. So I have a galactic team, an indigenous team, and an angelic team, and so does everyone I work with. So between my team and their teams, like, we've got it dialed in. And and when we were doing that, I'm shown like the soul's record, and you can refer that to Akashic records or the Matrix records. But this is a vinyl record, and we would put the needle on and we would play the record, and I could see where there were scratches on the record. And the scratches would not play through. Like, it would skip, and the sound and the frequency would be wonky because everything's energy. So in looking at that, the teams and I, we discovered what that was for them. And so the soul actually drops down timestamps and timestamps these occasions since the history of the soul. So as we come in, we have these timestamps, and it's almost like when you were in school and the teacher would take this like smiley face stamp, and she would like get it all red or green or blue, and then the kids would come up to her and they go, okay, let me see your hand. Shh, great day today. Okay, next one. Shh, great day. And then the next one, and then you go, oh, well, that's missing an eye. And then they go to the next one. Oh, that one's mouth is like, I better get some more ink. So when I see someone's soul, I can see it like smoky, it's smeared, it's, not a whole soul. It's not a solid soul. So these are the timestamps that we were able to identify. And then they taught me how to bring those timestamps back to create a whole soul. And in doing that, that elevates the individual, that eliminates things that do not resonate with a whole soul. Because when you're working with half the power, you think about a car or a light bulb or anything you have with electricity, when you're only working with half the power, you're not at full capacity. You can't actually receive the power and the force of it. So yeah, when we started doing that and bringing back all the timestamps for people, it was this awe-dropping, like, aha moment when they opened their heart and these were coming in. And it was so pinnacle for people to be able to have access to their whole soul that they have no idea. They've never been able to have that experience before. And it is just mind-blowing. So that's what I would say would be one of the intricate parts. And you know that you have a timestamp when you start to mark time based on it. And then I have taught you how to eliminate it in the process of us working together, so then you can eliminate any more that may show up for you. And humanity has its own collective record. And so I'll give you an example with humanity. When President Kennedy was shot, everybody knew where they were, what they were wearing that day, who they were with. Same thing when the Challenger blew up, 9/11, COVID. We all knew. And to know when you have a timestamp is when you start basing your time based on that. So it's like, oh, wait, did we meet before COVID started or after COVID started? Oh, that was definitely before. When you start talking about your present moment and creating based on the past, you know you have a timestamp. And it's time to go get that timestamp and reintegrate it into your soul. You're okay. You're exactly where you need to be at exactly the moment in exactly the time. And just know that when it's time, when you're ready, when things have lined up, when you've had the experiences, when you've learned what you've learned, when things start to like open up for you, when you start to have aha moments, that's when everything is going to show up. Some of us start our purpose in our 20s, teenagers, 30s, 40s, 50s. There are 70, 80, 90-year-olds who are now discovering their purpose. Know and trust that all the frequencies on the planet are shifting and changing, and we're all elevating them. So as we all elevate, so will yours. And with your elevation of your frequency, you're going to have access to more possibilities that you didn't have prior to that. So trust that you're on the right track. You're headed in the right direction. Not that there's a right or a wrong, but just your purpose is on its way. So why don't people find their purpose? There's an infinite number of reasons. Like there's an infinite number of timelines as to why people have it, why people don't. In fact, some of my clients, their soul's journey, like their soul's goal, so why they embodied here at this time, may be to not find their purpose. That could be what they checked off on their list to experience before they got here. So there are an element of souls that are here to have a lifetime with no purpose, to have that experience of having no purpose and what that would feel like, what the energy would be. So there's that aspect. And then there's aspects of programming. It's like, your parents are living vicariously through you, so they're influencing you to do what they never did, to, finish their life story kind of a thing. So there's that, and there's an infinite number of those possibilities. And so I'm shown ancestrally like this, so I can see what everyone's ancestors, like 15 to 20 generations, have passed down to them. That, when we go through the birth and we get here and we have amnesia, we don't actually have knowledge, remembrance, incidences, relationships, things like that. That's what happens, is they can show me what that is. And that doesn't even belong to them. It's not real, right, or relevant in this lifetime. It's not required, but it's taking up space in their frequency field. And like attracts like here on planet Earth. So even though it's those things that are in their frequency field, they're wondering, well, why is this relationship showing up? Why is this job not working out? Why is this falling apart? That's what happens. It's the other things that are attracting these experiences to you. So my highest recommendation would be to get with someone who can get in and take a look at where you are, where you're headed, what your purpose may be. And we can eliminate the things that are in the way and speed up the process for you a lot faster, for you to be able to identify, lock in, activate, initiate, engage, and manifest like exactly what you are here to do. By the way, not everyone has a purpose on the planet. Struggles, oh my goodness, like it took me 18 days to get here. I was in utero for 18 days. Like we didn't even know this was possible. My whole life I was brought up thinking that, if anyone's going to be late, it's going to be Susan. She was late to her birth. It was a running joke in the family. So of course I was late, right? Because that's how I was projected on. So yeah, my mom's water broke August 22nd. I'm not born till September 8th. And I asked my dad, I said, like, what was going on? Like, what were you doing this whole time? Like, there was no labor. They didn't induce in 1968. Like, it didn't happen. So my dad says, I just took your mom to the doctor. I'm like, and what did he say? So the doctor tells my dad, look, every day when you get home from work, take your wife on a bumpy road. We'll get that baby out. Now, this was in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts has like Boston Hospital and Harvard and Yale, Cambridge. Like, they got the big wig. That was the best advice. So, lo and behold, I started asking questions, because questions always empower you. Anything else disempowers you. Like, where was I? Am I like, was all the blood like rushing to my head? I'm inverted, like hanging out and stuck in the birth canal. I'm like, God, am I going? Am I staying? Like, what are we doing here? And that's when a lucid dream screen dropped down, and I was in heaven with God, and I was not happy about coming here. Had no interest whatsoever to do this lifetime. I was tapping out. I was backing away. I was like, there's got to be somebody else more qualified. You have a whole heaven here with souls. I'm like, not me. And that's what he said. He was like, it's got to be you. And I'm like, no. See, I know the rules up here, and I get to pick, and I am not doing it. It's filled with disease, heartache, betrayal, you name it. It was on my list. I was like, I'll go in 100 years. I go, I promise, God. God, I promise I will go in 100 years. And he said, Susan, you can't go in 100 years. I go, it'll be a nicer place. Humans will be, friendlier to each other. Like, we'll have more fun. And he's like, no, you have to go now. I tried everything to bargain with him. He was like, no, it's your time. And he opened his arms and he asked me to look inside. And I was like, oh, what are those? He had all these twinkling lights in there. And he was like, I'm like, what is that? He's like, those are the souls waiting for you to get to planet Earth so you can support them on their soul's evolution or purpose, which is why you incarnate. So it was already planned that I would be doing this before then. But I didn't get that information until I had an angelic guardian angel tap me on the shoulder and said, do the math on that. And that's when I got to the 18 days. And that opened everything else up to like, wow, this is bigger than me. This is beyond me. So there's been disease, heartache, betrayal, cheating, physical, psychological, mental, you name it, I've done it. Cancer, MS, autoimmune disease, yes. Epstein-Barr mono, yes. Chronic fatigue, yes. The minute I came out, I was put in these shoes because my hips, probably because I spent 18 days in there, but my hips were crooked. And so 23 hours a day, I had to be put in these boots with this bar. I mean, the minute I got here forward, I had to do fertility to get pregnant. I had polycystic ovaries. I never got a period till I was 19. They had to induce me to even make sure I could have one. Like, it has been a life of struggle, challenge, all that kind of stuff to overcome and be able to step into the frequency that I am today. So I've done it all for you. Mm-hmm. I was told I'd be able to identify that frequency in someone else because I've experienced it myself. And that has been really true. And it's so easy. It's kind of like once you've thrown up, this is just an example, when somebody else is going to, because you've seen it and you've had it happen and you kind of know. So it's like that, I would say. Ish. Kind of, maybe. Not at all. I have no idea. I'm not the expert here. That is a big thing for me, and it's got to be fun. What we do has to be fun. It's a prerequisite. It's required. Because if it's not fun, we have to fix it. And my son, love him so much. He is like the greatest thing I've ever created in my entire lifetime. The greatest thing I had ever done. And we discovered this when he was coming home from school one day. And I was like, yeah, and we got to swing into the grocery store and get this. And we got to pop by the bank. And he was like, Mom, do we really have to do all that? And I was like, actually, no, we don't have to do that today. And he's like, because it would be more fun for me to go. I go, would it be more fun? Well, let's go home. What would you like to do? He goes, I'd like to go in the pool before we start homework and dinner. And I'm like, yeah. I go, well, how much fun would that be? He goes, it'd be a 10. So from that moment forward, that I could physically energetically feel a shift in like what I have to do, my to-do list, all those kind of things. And I'm not actually in the question of, will that be fun for me? Like what's required here? And so the fun factor between 8 and 10 is a staple. And it's interesting to find out like how many people don't know what fun is. Like they can't identify what fun would be for them. And that in and of itself shows how separated we are from the frequency of fun. Because see, when you were a kid, you had a lot of fun. You got to play a lot. You got to imagine. You got to dream. You got to pretend. You got to play school and housekeeping and cook and chef and secretary and grocery store. And then you were told to like grow up. And like you don't have recess anymore. Now you have study hall because studying's more important. Well, I'm here to tell you that the energy of play, the energy of fun, is a frequency that's required in creation. Yeah, when you look at the emotional chart, the bottom is death and the top is enlightenment. The highest frequency, emotional frequency you can be is God's consciousness. Just below that is gratefulness, thankfulness, joy, bliss. And just above death is anger, rage, fury, hate, those four, and these four, blame, shame, regret, and guilt. And when you think about your day, like how many of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions were in that category, know that you are just functioning above death. So knowing that now, you have the awareness that there's a different possibility available to you. It's like, how much longer would you like to stay in those 8 over death frequencies? Or would you like to be in the joy, the fun factor, play, creation, up in the higher realms? Because what happens is the more time you spend up there, the more people, places, things, ideas, experiences, relationships, adventures you're going to bring into your life, because like attracts like. And the beautiful thing is we have choice. That's why we're creating a conscious education system, because we've been in school for the 12 years and then 14 if you go on and 16, after that. And you've been taking things and studying things that somebody else said was important, that you've got to learn this and you have to get an A or a B or a C on it, and you have no interest in it. You've been taught your whole life that you have to do things that are not of interest, that are not of fun for you, that you had no choice. It's like, look, you're in this grade, you're going to learn this, and you have to pass this. Then you're in this grade, you're this age. We're taking all of that out because that's all a lie. It's not even true. I studied Romeo and Juliet. I read The Grapes of Wrath, and I was traumatized with the Diary of Anne Frank. Well, guess what my son read and was traumatized from? The very same literature material. Like, you're telling me that in the 50 years, that's not changed? There isn't more art, more education, more writings, more architecture. Like, what is that all about? Well, it was a program that was established to establish. I mean, when you think of Grapes of Wrath, it's poverty, consciousness. When you look at Romeo and Juliet, it's, love, suicide, packed thing together. And then you look at the Diary of Anne Frank, and that's like war and dis-ease with the self and your environment. It's like those are the things they're teaching. They're still teaching. And it's like subliminal, and it's being taught as, it's like, why is that important now? Like, what does that have to do with today? Like zero. But they're still making the kids do it. And whether you're in charter, magnet, private, Montessori, public, you're all learning the same stuff. And it's the things that limit you. It's this large crayon box that you were taught that those are the colors that you see, when actually there are colors outside the colors in the crayon box. You were just never taught that they were there. And that's what we're going to do with the conscious education system, because we're here to, eliminate the stuff that locks our kids in. We're going to create a limitless education. Yeah, so we're going to change everything. It's going to be self-directed. It's going to be interest-based. The kids are going to lead. We're going to bring a concept in, and we're going to allow the kids to play with it. We're going to allow them to expand on it. We're going to allow them to ask questions about it. We're going to allow them to collaborate together. Not sit in your seat and you sit over there and don't look on this one's paper. That was all to keep us limited. Collaboration is the key. Competition is the lie. So if you have an idea and I have an idea, we each have one. If I tell you mine and you tell me yours, now we each have two. That's how we're going to discover our purposes faster, quicker, and easier. That's how we're going to ascend faster, quicker, and easier. Our children are coming in so prepared, so ready. They're so willing. They're unapologetic about what works for them and what does not work for them. And trust me, they know. And it's not necessarily what you think they know. So ask them some questions. Yeah, we're blowing up the education system. We're taking it to all different levels. You're not going to need to be in education. You're going to do what makes you happy. Going to school does not make kids happy. You ask any kid, do you love going to school? Do you love waking up in the morning and going there? Do you love spending 6, 7, 8 hours? How's that school bus ride? How's that waiting in line thing? How's the food at school? Yeah, I can guarantee you're not going to find, maybe one or two who actually enjoy school. It's a chore. And you're taught and told and funneled into this tunnel of this is what you have to do. And then the state makes it mandatory that kids have to go to school and you have to get your GED or graduate. And there's all of this political, legal stuff that's involved that we're just going to kind of thank you very much. We appreciate everything you've done. We are so grateful. You've given us a foundation. You've given us a baseline. And now we're ready to kind of do it differently. And this is what we're thinking about. And you're going to get your math. You're going to get your reading. You're going to get it all in, but it's going to be based on interest level. Kids will do anything they're interested in. And I love to use my son as an example because he went from Legos to lizards in 6 months. He was so conscious. And before the 6 months it took us to get from Legos to lizards, there was this educational portion that he was responsible for. It was you should do some research because we've never had a lizard. We've had cats, we knew about dogs, that kind of thing. What's a lizard need? Because a lizard doesn't sleep in the bed like we sleep in a bed. We're not going to cook dinner for a lizard every day. So all aspects of it. So my son researched, cut, pasted it, put it on a piece of paper, printed it out. He was like, Mom, I'm going to need a folder. I had a 3-ring binder. I still have this 3-ring binder of what foods, what temperature, what season, how to get them to get. He had all, and he was so involved. He had color sheets, colors, researched prices, what their terrarium or their background is, how they were going to keep them wet, the wetting system. It was this over the top thing, and he was so proud, and he would bring it and I'd be like, that's great. I'm like, what about this aspect? And he'd go, yeah, all right. So he'd go back and do some more and then bring that. And I'm like, okay, so what about this aspect of it? And he'd go do some more research. And we had this 3-ring binder, and he had chameleons, geckos, crested geckos, day geckos, just unbelievable, dart frogs. He was raising frogs. They were procreating together. Lizards. He had tubes he just did all this research, and he knew exactly the size, the space, who, how long, what it meant, when the colors changed, how it was. He is so educated on it that he could teach a class on this. And it was all done by himself, for himself, and it was his interest. Nobody said, you have to go do that. That's what we're going to do. And the kids are going to tune in right away. They're going to know what they like. They're going to know if they steer towards science, or they steer towards humanities, or dance, or singing, or theater. And then with that, we can expand on it. This is going to change the world. This is going to, the frequencies are definitely going to go up. They're going to get connected with their bodies. Their bodies are going to be part of their communication system. They're going to learn how to muscle test. They're going to learn how to see outside what your eyes see. They're going to see without seeing with their eyes. They're going to hear without hearing with their ears. And they're going to be able to know without being taught. Because we're going to teach them how to connect with Source. And being in the question is what's going to bring forth the awareness of the direction that would be in the highest and best, that'll create the most benevolent outcome for them. And then that's a grand slam. Yeah, so being in the question is one of the platforms I stand on. And it's one of the things I teach all of my clients is to be in the question. And you start with the question with a pendulum or muscle testing, the lock and key, or leaning forward or leaning back, because your body is more conscious than you are. You have points of view about things and your body doesn't. So for instance, your body knows what it requires for vitamins, minerals, like trace elements. So it will give you information like a picture or a craving of some kind of food that would have that. But then you go, oh my God, no, I do not like broccoli. I hate broccoli. I'm not doing it. Like, pick something else. And so you negate the information that your body's providing for you. So we're going to disassemble that program and we're going to implement the question. And I call it a question session, where you're going to interact with your body. You're going to co-create with your body and actually discover the things that are real, right, and relevant for you with your body. Because we were taught with religion that the soul's in the body. That's where your soul is housed. It's in the body. Well, that's not actually true. So your soul is limitless. It's an infinite being. And so how can you fit something infinite in the body? It's not possible. So your body's in your being. And when you understand and grab that concept, so much stuff can change for you. So there's these little nuggets of things where you are misled, misrepresented, lied to, programmed into believing something. And our parents did the best they could. Like, there's no right or wrong. There's no polarity in the reality that we're creating with these kids. It's like just what works for you. And being in the question, you actually are co-creating with the molecules of consciousness. So we would command in that which we'd like to have, because commanding is co-creating, commingling, collaborating. And when we demand, it's destroying, destruction, demolish. So we command in to our reality that which we'd like to have. So being in the question is something that takes you out of judgment, separation, decision, calculation, computation, which is what you were taught to do. You were taught to figure it out, find the right answer, make a good choice. Good, bad, right, wrong. That's all polarity. So that's where you were like in the box. We're tearing apart the box and we're going with flow. It's going to be a beautiful day. I would love to have you join us. It's like, what do you know that I don't know? Because I don't know everything. What do you know that I don't know that would create something even greater for kids? That's what we're asking. Someone who said they can't follow their dreams because they can't make a living is like, I would ask them to, like, is that true for you? That's what I would ask the kids, is to check if that's true for you, with the yes and the no with muscle testing. It may be true for them or may not be true for them. If it is true for them, okay, then let's take it to the next question. If it's not true for them, then let's take it to the next question. So what would be true for you? What's not true for you? What would be true? What's a different possibility? What else is available? What are you not willing to acknowledge that if you did, would create a new reality? And it's the questions that create, versus anything else. So I know a lot of people have a point of view about this job creates this much income and this job creates this much income. And statistics say that these amount of people who go into this industry don't actually graduate or don't make it. Or I'm going to tell you that the whole thing about your dream is about your interest level. That's your frequency. There's an element of, are you on purpose? So just because we all had a dream growing up of being a movie star or Wonder Woman or Batman, Spider-Man, a princess, that may be a little kid's dream. Your dream may have changed now. It may be something different. It may be something else that you weren't willing to acknowledge or do research on or look into or try. That's what we're going to be bringing in the Limitless Life. Your Limitless Life education program is to allow people to explore, to look at things, to ask questions. And really, you're going to be able to hone into your heart and your soul and your frequency and your vibration of what resonates with you. And you will know the difference. It's sort of like, I was having a conversation with my apprentice on the trip up here. We're in Arizona right now. About when did okay, fine, and good be okay? When did we not go like, oh my God, I had the most amazing day. Like, I cannot wait till tomorrow because we've got this, and this that's going on. Like, we're going to have so much fun on doing this activity. But nowadays, when you ask each other, well, how are you doing? Good. How do you feel? Fine. What's new? Not much. Same shit, different day. Same day, different shit. Right? It's like business as usual. It's like we're in this routine of like doing eat, sleep, go to work, go to school, eat, sleep, go to work, go to school. Like that has been the factory mentality, that you're in a routine, you're on the hamster wheel, you're doing your job, you're paying your taxes. Yeah, you live in a house, you have a condo, right? You're being responsible. That's what you're supposed to do. You're a good person, you're a good worker, you're a good mom. That's all polarity. There is no question in any of that. That's what locks you in. Being in the question frees you and allows you to access the infinite possibility field that's available to you that you were never taught how to get to.
The teams are closed for this season of the Purpose Lab, but you can follow along on the journey at _Holo Movement on Instagram and our LightNet on Instagram, where we're going to be walking through the 7-stage process week by week as our teams do it inside the lab. You are going to get the opportunity to experience Susan this month live on October 26th on our YouTube at ourlightnet.org.